Alright, peace. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, give honor and praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Give a double honor to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth. And give a double honor to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator has awoken in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. Alright, brothers and sisters, I want to go into a quick little video. Sorry for the background. I'm at the gig, so I'm at the break room and stuff, so it's, a little noisy, but I said I wanted to sit down and talk about, a couple of things before I start work. And one of the things that I want to take a close look at is the situation with Prince Miller and the Supreme Team and a lot of people making statements about the situation with Bimmy and a lot of things that's going on. And me personally, I think that a lot of these guys, a lot of them, they say that Bimmy was a snitch, and he probably was, because Prince Miller broke down different stages of quote unquote the concept of a snitch. You got the confidential informant, and then you got the regular people that may testify you on the stand. And he broke down the stages of people that snitching. But I think what these guys don't really understand is that at the end of the day, people use the concept of snitching, right? And I can understand if two people was doing a crime together, you shouldn't be telling on people and things of this nature. But what a lot of these guys don't really understand is that a lot of black people were misguided into what you would call the drug game. And what a lot of so-called black people are doing is we are waging war against ourselves. So when we selling drugs or we gang banging, doing things, dealing with criminality, criminality, if that's a word, there's a lot of things that happens in that situation. There's murder, there's thievery, there's telling, guys doing certain things to other guys or women, guys doing other things to other people's children, like the situation with Preacher. Preacher and his crew, because they wanted that money, they end up killing Rich Porter's little brother. So this is the horror that's going on in our communities. And it kind of saddens me that you have a lot of these guys, they in their 60s, 50s and stuff like that, and they still act like children. Making podcasts about other individuals instead of us going to these individuals personally and hashing out our differences, because at the end of the day, they both were wrong. It's because they were selling drugs. They were waging war against their own people for these other nations. This is what a lot of these guys don't really understand. So when you have a person like Bimmy that's supposed to have told, you have situations like that. But what the viewing audience, like you see people like MREC TV and all these different podcasters, see, they painting the picture that people like Prince Miller and the Supreme Team, is that they was honorable men, and really, no disrespect to those brothers, but they were not honorable. It's because they were not doing something that was honorable to the community. Like I said before, where are they getting these drugs from? They get these drugs from the same people that don't care about black people. And because of poverty and because of certain situations that goes on in the community, we take that route. We take that route. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to go to school wearing hand-me-down clothes and things of this nature. And that ain't nothing but the trick of the adversary. What's that scripture? I think it's 2nd or 1st Peter, when it talks about how the adversary is like a raging wolf, basically seeking whom he's going to devour. I think 1st or 2nd Peter 5 and 8. See? And it talks about how the adversary walking to, that's what it is, walking to and fro, seeking on whom he may devour. See? And that's what a lot of us don't understand, is that we have been devoured in this system. See, because they told the black man that he was a savage that lived in the jungle of a subhuman level, and this is how we act towards each other. And see, even though Prince Miller is much older, you know, a lot of these guys, they still act like kids, man. Instead of forgiving your brother, it's because at the end of the day, Prince Miller and Supreme McGriff, they were just 1 and 2 individuals out of many that have been duped in this system. See, selling drugs is a situation that destroyed the black community. And what Bimmy, Prince Miller, and Brian Glaze Gibbs and all these people, they need to put their differences to the side, and they need to start working for the common good and trying to break generational curses, instead of going into other people's paperwork and what they did back in the day. That was 40 years ago. See, that's 40 years ago. What are these people doing today? If it's about the kids and making sure the kids don't make the same mistakes that they did, they need to start working together to try to do those things. But what are they doing? They're still fighting each other over on the internet. And then you got these other podcasts, they're doing the same thing. It's because they're painting the picture that the person that don't tell, that used to sell drugs and cause a lot of havoc in the community, that they're the revolutionaries. They're not revolutionaries, brothers and sisters. They were people that was working with the so-called white man and other nations, whether it's the South Americans or whatever. You know, see, we think just because they was getting all these keys, oh man, I was getting 34 bricks. So what? That's something honorable. See, we have made drug dealing and drug selling and gang banging and stuff like that, we have made that stuff honorable. And it's not honorable. And like I said, where are they getting them drugs from? They getting them drugs from the other nations. So they're working with the other nations to tear down their own communities. There's nothing revolutionary about that situation. And then we create these mafia codes. what's that? If you told, you can't come back to the community. Well, what about the guy that didn't tell, but he was selling drugs, that he was destroying the community? Why he can come back to the community, but the person that told, because he ain't want to do no time, he can't go back to the community. Now, like I said before, this is how hypocritical our people is. And even in this situation with Prince Miller, you have a lot of people. I saw him on the podcast. He was out there with them young brothers, and them young brothers, they was kissing his feet, you know. But he's an informant too, and he don't even realize that he was an informant, because informant or an agent, see, or an agent. I wouldn't call him an informant, but he's an agent. And an agent is a person that comes amongst the community. You know, the FBI, right? Black people was not a part of the FBI until they started to use them to be confidential informants on their own people. Go look up Perry Darthard. See, Perry Darthard was a person that was working with the government to undermine black people. This is the same thing that drug dealers and gangbangers are doing. They're undermining the black community. And I'm not saying that to really put a stain on the brother, but look how hypocritical our people is. They're celebrating the fact that he did 35 or 32 years in prison and he never told on nobody. But look at the devastation that he has done to his own community. We're not looking at that. And like I said, I use Alpo as an example. If Alpo would have never told on Wayne Perry and other people in D.C., he would have been celebrated as the greatest drug dealer to ever step on the streets. That's nothing to be glorified. He did all those murders and stuff like that. That's not. He murdered Rich Porter over drugs. Is that something to be? Is that something to look up to? See, what's going on is because the so-called white man has taken away a lot of our leaders, positive people that we can look up to. Now we looking up to these individuals. If you go back to the movie called Panther with my man Dwayne Wayne, Kadeem Hardison, when they was playing the Black Panthers, it talks about how Ezell from Friday, how, you know, they had him as the drug dealer. They was pushing in drugs, and they was using him as a person to bring those drugs in. And, you know, first time they caught him, they whooped him, you know. But he ended up having people behind him to bring in these drugs. And you know something? A lot of those brothers, they know this. They know that the FBI is allowing that stuff to happen. But when you get older and stuff, you don't care about that stuff. So when we talk about confidential informants and agents and stuff, these brothers are agents too. It's because they were working with people that hate black folks, aka niggas. See? They working with them folks to destroy their own communities. And here it is, black people are parading these folks around like they revolutionaries or something. They Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Denmark Vesey or something. They are farthest from that, brothers and sisters, and really, we should be ashamed of ourselves. Is because if the tattletale can't come back to the community, then why is these brothers be able to come back to the community? You know why? It's because we still worship these people. We worship these folks as gods, man. See? The so-called Negro, the nation of Israel, we're still caught up in a lot of this foolery and a lot of this folly that's going on in our communities. See, brothers and sisters need to start questioning him about his allegiance towards the people that he was getting all those bricks from. See? Well, why should we allow you to come to the community and so-called make a difference? If Bimmy is telling, right, why you allowed to come back to the community? You was the head of an organization. An organization that sole purpose was to wear designer clothes, to be able to go to the finest restaurants, to put their kids in the finest schools. And what was you doing? You were destroying your own people in order for what? To get wealth and prestige. That's all you cared about. So why should we, as the so-called black community, allow you to come back to the community and to rebuild? If Bimmy and Alpo and the rest of these people can't come back to the community, they can't change their mentality, but these people can. Guy Fisher, see, all these people. This is how stupid our people is. If you're going to question one, you're going to condemn one, you have to condemn the other. And what's so wrong with this situation is that these are grown men. They almost in their 70s, and they can't put their differences to the side, stuff that happened 30 years ago, for the common good. What is the common good? To make sure these babies don't go down the same rabbit hole that they did. It's because that's what drug dealing does. That's what gang banging does. Gang banging and drug dealing, pimping, and all this type of stuff, what did it do? It breeds envy, strife, see, murder, all this type of stuff. And you would think that these guys, when they get to a certain age, that they will understand this. They still got the nigga mentality. That's what I'm saying. The brother, he said a lot of stuff that was positive and gave you a lot of information, but he still hasn't changed his mentality. He want to prove to the world that Bimmy was a confidential informant. Who cares? It's 40, 50 years now. Bimmy, he wasn't a revolutionary. He wasn't doing nothing for black people that was positive. He was black people looking up to him for the wrong reasons. He's the person off Panther. They flooding the drugs in the community. And he's putting the drugs in the community. Tearing up households. So what are we talking about here? Then you got these Negroes, MREC TV, what's my man, Bully the Bully, I can't think his name, but he's from New York. All of them trying to see what's going on, see what the bottom of the situation is. Man, this is stupid. This is stupidity. Here it is, Russia is testing their nuclear weapons, and we're worried about who is a confident. Look how stupid we is. We don't even control our neighborhoods, and we worried about who the confidential informants is. We are acting like both of these individuals are real revolutionaries. They're not. So this is what's wrong with our communities, is that we uphold criminals. Criminals. This is what we uphold. We uphold the Constitution of criminality. You know, if that's the word, right? No snitching. You can't tell under no situation. You can't tell all this type of stuff. But we all doing crimes. We all doing crimes. We crimies. We go to prison, which is a college for criminality. We learn how to be better criminals. What are we talking about? We don't even control our own neighborhoods. So when I look at a lot of these guys, all of this stuff is nothing but tribal wars amongst each other. He wants to set the record straight about the Supreme Team. You can't set the record straight. You was an informant for the government. That's who you was. Whether you doing it willfully or unwillfully, that's who you are. You was a person that was working not so much with the government, but you getting these drugs from these nations that hate us. And you was working with these nations to destroy your own community. You are just as guilty of that. You're just as guilty. So if you're gonna call Bimmy a confidential informant, then what are we saying about you? We can't trust you. How we gonna trust you? The man put all the drugs in your hands and you chopped it up, you distributed it to the community, and you destroy This is why these kids is destroyed out here. It's because a lot of these drug dealers. And look at it. We sitting up here upholding these cats like they somebody that they supposed to be reverenced as people that supposed to have some type of respect. So, I just wanted to come over here and talk about, what's going on in the world today and how hypocritical so-called black people is. Shalom.